You made a horrendous mistake. You're fired. Don't ever come back to this company. Gelling that, the manager stormed out of the room. So, I'm getting fired, huh? I've been contributing to the company without any major errors, but it seems I need to start job hunting. But on the second day after being fired, my cell phone suddenly rang. Oh, good, you answered, David. Can you come back to the office right now? Having been told this, the scene I saw when I arrived at the company was: my name is David. I live with my loving wife and an energetic 8-year-old son. I work for a subsidiary of a major food manufacturer, handling the ordering and receipt of food products. I deal with products both for restaurants and retail consumers, so managing the inventory is quite challenging. It's a job where attention to detail is crucial, but I've always managed to do it smoothly without any major mistakes. However, there was one troublemaker at the office. Hey David, this document was supposed to be finished by today, right? The one shouting at me was Paul, the manager. Paul is younger than me, in his 40s, but he's my boss. That's because he is the son of the director of the main food manufacturing company, and he always gives orders with a pompous attitude. Furthermore, he always believes he's right, and for that, he is surprisingly bad at his job. He became a director just 2 weeks ago, and for some reason, he seems to have taken a disliking to me. He checks on me daily, pushing more and more work onto my plate. After you finish that, get this document done as well. Hurry it up. Yes, I understand. You should take the initiative before your boss tells you. Honestly, you're so thoughtless. The manager threw a bundle of papers onto my desk and left the room. As I was picking up the scattered documents, I could hear my colleagues whispering to each other. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but being in the same room, I couldn't help but overhear. Paul is always tough on David, isn't he? David does his job so meticulously, and without any mistakes. I wonder why. But David can be a bit absent-minded, you know. He doesn't hold any significant position at his age, right? Maybe he's not interested in climbing the corporate ladder. Well, with that kind of attitude, promotion seems tough for him. Even when younger manager scolds him, he just brushes it off with a smile. As I overheard my colleagues chuckling behind my back, I let out a sigh. Let them talk. I'm just doing my job my way. Doing what I need to do, my way. I continued to tackle the tasks assigned to me by the manager. However, one day, while I was working as usual, a colleague suddenly began to panic. Answering the phone, he was sweating profusely and kept repeating apologies. Wondering what had happened, the colleague hung up the phone and approached me. David, what's the meaning of this? Me. The colleague handed me a note. The content was a complaint from a major client. What's going on? We ordered 50 units of the regular business product and 500 household items to hand out as samples, but they received only the 50 units of the business product. They were furious, saying they were supposed to distribute the household items at an event in 3 days. How will we make this right? You're kidding. That can't be. I've never made such a mistake before, and I was sure I checked this order too. Why did this happen? I started to panic. I handled orders for 2 types of products, business and household. The large packs for business and the individually packaged household items have the same product name, so they're easy to be mixed up. Because it's an area prone to errors, I always double-checked, especially since it would be difficult to correct such a mistake. But the fact remains that we've got this complaint. Quickly composing myself, I opened my computer to verify the order. The purchase order showed a record of 50 business products. That's strange. I'm sure I ordered the 500 household items as well. Unable to believe my eyes, I felt a sudden chill. Then, the next moment, Paul's loud voice echoed throughout the room. What kind of mistake is this, you useless employee? No, I'm sure I ordered the 500 household items too. Enough. You clearly only ordered the business products. If you have time to make excuses, find a way to gather those 500 household items now. Paul pushed me against my desk in anger and stormed out of the room. My colleagues looked on with concern at the altercation between manager and me, but none offered help. Either way, I have to find those household items. I quickly returned to my desk and started calling our branches. I'm sorry for the sudden request. If you have any spare household items, could you send them over? Please, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I owe you one. Only 240 left. Only 3 days left until the event where our client will participate. Can I really gather all 500 by then? No time to doubt. I need to do whatever I can right now. I frantically made calls to address the situation. I deeply apologize. Yes, thank you for checking. I kept bowing and asking if they had any stock. Even if there was just one item available, I would drive there myself to pick it up. Only 70 left. And then, the day before the event, holding boxes filled with the products, I bowed deeply. Thank you so much for this. I can't thank you enough. Finally, I had managed to secure the 500th item. In the end, I managed to prepare the required amount for the event where our client was participating. After that, I quickly headed to the client's place to deliver the goods, but the person in charge looked down on me with a gaze filled with anger. What's going on? We've been doing business for a long time, but I've never felt like this before. Sorry, but I can't trust you anymore. Our business relationship is over. The client angrily took the goods and with a slam, shut the door right in front of me. I stood there, head bowed in disappointment for a while before slowly making my way back to the office. I did everything I could. But when I got back, there stood manager with a stern look, arms crossed, waiting for me. You really messed up this time. If this keeps up, you're going to ruin the company's reputation. You're fired. Leave now and don't come back. With that, the Paul stormed out of the room. I trudged back to my desk, dejected. Is this how I get fired? My mistake caused the company so much trouble. I had always been a reliable employee and contributed well, but it seems I'll have to start job hunting. It'll be tough at my age since I haven't climbed the corporate ladder. How will I break the news to my wife and son when I get home? With a heavy heart, I started packing up my things. As the end of the day approached, I apologized to my colleagues. I'm really sorry for the trouble I've caused. Thank you for everything. I'll be on my way now. I went around, apologizing to everyone, and then clocked out. After finishing the formalities to use my remaining paid time off, I realized there was nothing left for me to do at the company. It's been a long 3 days. I could hear the creaking as I stretched my neck and shoulders. What will I tell my wife and son when I get home? Would they be disappointed in me? Would they see me as a failure? No, they'll greet me with their usual smiles. Given their nature, they wouldn't blame me. But that thought somehow felt even harder to bear. Lost in thought, I found myself close to home. I'm home. Welcome back, Dad. You're late. Oh, you look a bit off. Something happened. Holding my energetic son in my arms, I smiled and shook my head in response to my wife's question. Yeah, just a little something. I'll talk about it later. All right then. Let's eat once you've changed. I headed to my bedroom at a slow pace. Both my wife and son greeted me with warm smiles, just as I had imagined. That made me even more unsure about how to break the news to them. Anyways, I'll tell them after dinner. With renewed determination, I went back to the living room where my wife and son were waiting. Let's eat. Let's eat. So, what happened? You seem a bit down. Dad, something wrong. Their voices, full of concern for me, made my heart race. But I couldn't keep this from them forever. Taking a deep breath and gathering my courage, I began to speak. I'm really sorry, you two. It looks like I've been laid off from work. Upon hearing my words, wife's eyes widened in shock, rendering her speechless. Instead, it was my son who raised his voice. That's awesome. Dad, you don't have to go to work now, right? Yeah, I'll be home for a while starting tomorrow. Yay, let's go to the amusement park then. I've been wanting to go. My son is beaming, gazing at me with a big smile. I just stared back at my son, not expecting his reaction like this. Then, my wife began to chuckle softly. "Oh, that's a great idea. You've seemed quite swamped lately. It'd be nice for you to relax. I'd be happy if you were home more." I was taken aback by my wife and son's response. But at the same time, I felt a great sense of relief. I see. Neither of them blames me for getting laid off. Guess it's all right for me to just take it easy at home. Come to think of it, since my son grew up, we haven't really gone on any long trips. I had left all the parenting and household chores to my wife, so maybe this was a good opportunity to spend time with the family. Deep in thought, cherishing the moment, I smiled at the two of them. "How about this? The weekend when there's no school, let's all go to the amusement park." "Yay, you promise, Dad? I'm looking forward to it already." Their joyful voices filled the living room. What a warm family gathering this is. I'm truly blessed to have these happy moments. Feeling a bit relieved, I continued with my meal. However, the very next morning after I took my paid leave, my cell phone suddenly rang. The caller was a colleague from work. I wonder what's up. Did I make another mistake? With a hint of anxiety, I answered the call. "Hello, this is David." "Oh, David, glad you picked up. I'm sorry to bother you during your vacation, but can you come to the office right away? Did something happen? I'm sorry. Please come back as soon as possible. I can't explain in detail over the phone, but it's urgent." "Understood. I'll be right there." Hearing the urgency in my colleague's voice, I quickly got dressed. My wife looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Is everything okay? Was at the office?" "Yeah, they need me. I'm heading out." I arrived at the office about 40 minutes after the call. As I approached my department, the same colleague hurriedly came over. "David, thank goodness you are here. Please, come with me, quickly." Following my hurried colleague, I couldn't help but tilt my head in confusion. Why the rush? What could have possibly happened? As we ran, he started explaining the situation to me. According to him, the morning after I was fired, an infuriated CEO stormed into our department. "Why isn't he here? Explain this." Are you talking about David? We're okay without that guy." Paul, who was there, tried to calm the CEO, but that seemed to make him even angrier. "What are you talking about? Just bring David back now." That's when they decided to contact me. Hearing my colleague's story, I was still puzzled. "But I was fired, right?" My colleague looked just as baffled. Leading me further, we soon came upon the CEO and a visibly upset manager. "Hey, David, good to have you back." I was under the impression I was fired." Hearing the word fired, the CEO opened his mouth in surprise. But soon, he broke out into a hearty laugh. "We'd never let you go. Without you, who's going to manage transactions for the company?" With that, the CEO showed me his computer screen. There, I saw the order page for our products. Spotting a red warning icon on the screen, I couldn't help but raise my voice. "Hey, something's off here. It looks like no orders have been placed since the day after I got fired and went on paid leave." "Well, that's because you weren't here." Why would orders stop just because I'm not around?" "Because, David, it's a job that only you can handle." The CEO then handed a note to Paul, who sat silently. "Paul, can you place the order from this note?" "Sure." Upon receiving the note, Paul moved to the computer. However, as he was about to place it, he stopped, looking utterly confused. "Excuse me, what's written here? I need this in English to place the order." Hearing Paul's words, the CEO burst into hearty laughter. After a short while, he regained his composure and looked straight at me. "All right, David, can you handle the order from that note?" "Wait, what? No way, if I couldn't do it. There's no way David could." "Just get up and hand that note to David." Following the CEO's command, Paul, looking a tad grumpy, passed the note to me, pushing it into my hand with a look that said, "Like you can't do any better." I took the note, sat at the computer as instructed, and checked the order details. Then, I began placing it as usual. This is a food product from Singapore. I'm placing the order now. Is that English? The words look all jumbled. The next item is from Australia. What's this product called? I can't read this at all. Paul kept interrupting, but I steadily continued with the order. Once I'd entered all the items from the note, I turned to the CEO. If there's anything else, I'll order it right away. We have our regular order, with South Africa coming up soon, right? That's right. Hey, if there are any order requests, bring them over. David's back, and he can handle it right away. Upon hearing the CEO's words, several employees immediately rushed over. David, could you please handle this? I need this done too, and urgently. As I busily input the orders from the forms being handed to me, I overheard Paul mumbling complaints from afar. I can't believe it. How can David, of all people, place these orders? That's when it hit me. It seems Paul didn't know I was proficient in English dialects. In fact, during my college years, I had researched various English dialects and had almost aced the test. I had especially studied English influenced by local languages in places like Singapore and South Africa, which allowed me to understand order forms without constantly looking up local terms. Being able to read and write all communications with vendors from those countries had been quite beneficial in transactions. Once I had finished inputting all the requested orders, I double-checked the product names and quantities. All right, everything seems correct, and send. I felt relieved to have successfully placed the orders, but I then noticed something odd. What's this? This computer was exclusively for orders, and it displayed order history and the last update history once an order was finalized. Moreover, an employee ID was required to operate this computer, so the name of the employee who was using it at the time was also recorded. Upon checking the records, the last update was still on the day I was told I'd be fired. However, the last person to update it was listed as Paul. I see, that's what happened. What's going on, David? Everything became clear, and I stood up abruptly. The order mistake the other day wasn't my fault, isn't that right, Paul? What are you on about now? It was your mistake, and that's why you were fired, wasn't it? Confronted by my accusation, Paul, with a red face, retorted. He fervently pointed to the computer screen I had been working on. You were the expert at ordering, weren't you? Plus, you just said that you're the only one who can understand that gibberish English, right? You really won't admit it, will you? Then, let me show you the evidence. With that, I promptly printed out the screen. I showed the printed paper to everyone present. Take a look here. It says Paul under the last updated column, doesn't it? No, that's... Paul stammered, flailing his hands, but everyone's gaze was fixed on the paper I held. The CEO took the paper from me, staring at Paul's name intently. After a moment, he said in a grave tone, "It seems it's time for you to leave this company, Paul." No, this must be some mistake. Paul began, pale-faced, trying to explain himself. But the CEO, with a stern look, declared, "I'll be informing your father about this. Expect appropriate consequences. Brace yourself." The CEO fixed his gaze on Paul and then left the room. Suddenly, Paul let out a short cry and collapsed weakly to the floor. Meanwhile, I was surrounded by my colleagues, all addressing me at once. "David, I had no idea you had such skills. To be honest, I thought you were incompetent. I'm truly sorry. We didn't talk much, and I thought you were a bit odd. I apologize." "Hey, it's not like you guys did anything wrong, so no need to apologize. Besides, it looks like I still have a job here, so let's continue to get along," I said, trying to reassure my colleagues. Seeing their relieved expressions, I felt my own tension ease. And so, having proven I hadn't made any mistakes, I safely returned home. When I told my wife and son that I'd be returning to work, they were genuinely overjoyed. A few days later, while I was on paid leave, my cell phone rang again. It was the CEO. "Sorry to bother you during your time off. The thing is, I got a call from a client CEO. He insisted that he needed to speak with you directly. That's okay. What happened? After the order mishap, the client wanted to know if it truly was your mistake. They remembered how dedicated and passionate you have been in our dealings with them, and thought there might have been some misunderstanding. Oh, I see. I was brought back to the memories of that time. It feels good to know that our long-standing client had such trust in me. The CEO continued speaking. I always believed you couldn't have made that mistake, but to think that Paul tampered with it, I'm truly sorry for this. After that incident, we had a meeting with the higher-ups, and as a result, he was let go. He deserved it after what he did. Paul's father is a top executive at our parent company, but it seems his actions were still inexcusable. From what the CEO said, Paul is currently looking for jobs at other companies, but rumors of his tampering are making it tough for him. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. Now, I can get back to work as usual. With Paul gone, I'm even more motivated. Seeing my renewed energy, my wife said, "Seems like some good news," and chuckled. The next day, as we had promised, we took a family trip to the amusement park. My wife and I enjoyed the park, watching our son looking happy. "Dad, Mom, we can get a fast pass here." "Oh, they have that handy option." Our son explained that it was a system where we could use the attractions on a priority basis within a designated time. Seeing how much our son has grown without us realizing makes me feel warm inside. And so, we enjoyed the amusement park the entire day. Soon, the day to return to work arrived. I'm off. I left the house earlier than usual. The familiar commute route looked brighter to my eyes. Upon arriving at the office, I brushed off the dust from my suit and slowly entered the building. "Good morning." "Oh, good morning, David. I hate to bother you right as you get in, but could you handle this for me?" In his colleague's hand was an order form for Singapore. "Yes, leave it to me." And just like that, my daily routine began to get back on track.